Ciao ragazzi, bentornati su AoSCrusaders, io sono Francesco. Qui con noi abbiamo un ospite molto speciale per inaugurare una serie di interviste che saranno la nostra strada che ci porterà a settembre al grande evento del Clash a Milano, targato AoSWorlds, quindi davvero il mondiale di Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Intervisteremo i capitani delle nazionali. Qui con noi abbiamo Jordan, capitano della nazionale canadese, youtuber e comunque sia giocatore molto prominente nella scena canadese e anche internazionale, che ha consentito di fare qualche chiacchiera con noi per iniziare questo percorso che ci porterà a settembre all'evento di Milano. Hi Jordan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, yourself?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Thanks for being here. We are just kickstarting this cool Road to Clash series of interviews that will lead us to the event in Milan that was I was saying in town. And I'm really excited to start this really cool trip that will lead us to the host. Hopefully, if everything goes as planned to this.
Yes, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, absolutely. So, as I was saying, you are the captain of Team Canada, and the question that I usually ask to start the interviews is very simple: is how did you start your journey in the world of Warhammer? What was it like for you?
Oh gosh, that was years ago. So I got into the hobby as a kid. So with my brother and stepbrother, we were given box of like even older like Warhammer, like the first orcs or something like that. So super old stuff, and that got us into the hobby like 20 years ago or so. And then so obviously we did a bunch growing up as kids, and then we all kind of fell in and out of it, through school and university and whatnot. But I would, pick up my models, take them with me wherever I moved, and paint every so often. But then I just jumped back into it a few years ago. Really, just being at a point in my life, where I'm in a stable career and work's relaxed a little bit, where I, more of the 9 to 5, have a little more time a day. So just got back to the hobby a couple years ago, and immediately dove into competitive play. I done competitive card games and was a competitive athlete all my life, so the competition side of it runs deep. But yeah, again, got back into the hobby a couple years ago after Age of Sigmar and the first General's Handbook came out. So after kind of the points came and the game was really trending upwards, so kind of felt like I got on at the right time.
Cool. Yeah, I think we all have this kind of period when we were kids, when we just started to get into Warhammer, and for me it was just a very brief moment, and then I feel like most of the people that I talk to have had like a big start, then a kind of a down period, and then like a resurgence when we are older, and then we can afford all the minis and all the paints and whatnot, and then also to go to events as well. So it's like, yeah, it starts when we are kids, and then it gets serious when we are old enough to really afford this hobby that is not really actually too much of an affordable hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you have like an army that drew you to get into Age of Sigmar?
Well, so I played both fantasy and 40k back in the day, and growing up was for fantasy, which has always been my preferred kind of genre. I was always a big elf player, so I have big high elf army. I did little wood elves, and then dabbled here and there with other things, but always elves. So looking at the game when I came back in with AoS, I obviously started looking at the elf factions, and picked purely off aesthetics, and started with Sylvaneth. So they were kind of my first draw. Looking at like
same here. Sylvaneth OG here.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And looking at like the Dreicher model, that was like the best model around. I love that model. So that was like the first thing I got, and so that drew me in. And I kind of always knew I was going to collect a couple other armies. So soon after getting into Sylvaneth, I actually started. I picked up a few Deepkin, Deepkin models, actually because there's that really crappy battalion where you can use like Sylvaneth and Deepkin together.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's like the worst models from both armies at the time.
Yes.
But it was just a fun way for me to, playing casually at that time. It was a fun way, for me to kind of start collecting another army. But that's around the time I actually was getting into competitive play, which is also around the time when the Sylvaneth Battle Tome leaked. but wasn't actually like publicly released for several months.
That was a
Yes. Yeah, so it's like I was just getting into competitive play, and I had already been practicing and playing with the new book, but by the time events were rolling around, it wasn't actually legal at events yet. So I basically, at that point, just made the decision. I was like, well, I have 1,000 points of Deepkin. Let's grab another 1,000 points and start playing Deepkin. And then I played basically purely Deepkin competitively at events, besides an event here or there, but 95% Deepkin for like the past 2.5 years now.
Cool. Yeah, that was my excuse to get into Cities of Sigmar, because I had so many Sylvanets, and I was like, okay, Living City sounds cool. I'll just branch out and buy a little, and then I have like 5,000 points of cities right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It gets out of hand really quickly.
Yeah, same boat. I have Cities of Sigmar army, like the full Living Cities army. I'm ready, just waiting for the painting table, but that's always a backlog.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you talked about being competitive in many aspects of your life. So what do you have a specific approach to the competitive side of the game? And was there something in particular that drew you to competitive Age of Sigmar?
I really from the start just like wanted to go to events, whether they were casual or competitive. I just want to go out, meet other people in the hobby. Obviously, really enjoy that aspect of it as well. So, and I kind of got back into it with just two friends of mine, and so was just looking to meet other people and play more games and see different armies and that kind of thing. So that's really what drew me into it, and then kind of going to more events. That's when the competitive side kicks in. It's like, okay, I want to start doing well and winning consistently, and or having competitive games at least and whatnot. So that kind of just drew me in right away. And obviously with the competitive background, as you say, it's if you have that itch, you kind of just, once it starts getting scratched, you can't stop.
Kind of a natural thing, I guess, as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
By itself. Cool. Yeah. So well, as much as you are known as a player, probably lots of people know you as a content creator for Season of War, right? Which is your YouTube channel. And I was just wanted to ask you, how did the channel was born? What was the idea behind it?
Well, when I did get back into the hobby, so this was like 3 years ago now, I have a video background and experience through my business. It's been kind of a side hobby to me, doing video and that stuff. So kind of when I was getting back into Warhammer with my buddies, I knew I have the equipment. There's the potential that we're going to be, we have the equipment needed to create, high quality battle reports. So I knew that was always kind of a potential. So it was always something kind of that was in the back of my mind as like, I'd like to do this. And then actually getting into, events and, more competitive play, I really did find there was kind of a lack of competitive representation in battle reports. And not necessarily that the players weren't competitive or, making good choices, but the format of handheld and, cutting through everything doesn't necessarily, integrate well with kind of a good understanding of what's going on in the game. So it's hard to like kind of analyze the people who play and what their decisions are like, or errors, or really good plays they make. So it just came about that was kind of the content that I was looking for, and I feel like a lot of other people enjoy. So that's when again, when I kind of got my armies painted up and we could start playing some games with painted armies, that it just kind of all fell together of, okay, we have, here's the equipment we have, and we've added some more since then. And then this is, looking at all the different styles of battle reports, both in, AoS content creators and, 40K, we kind of looked at all these different aspects and what we liked about each of them, and kind of, chose different pieces and tried a few different, new things that hadn't been done, for one reason or another, whether it's because, we liked it more, or we didn't have a solution to do something this way and we had to find a different way to do it.
You think you do an amazing job, and what you said is really true, because there may be lots of generic Age of Sigmar channels. Like, I was thinking about the fact that you guys in Canada have probably the biggest channel that's Mini Wargaming, which does really cool looking battle reports, but we all know it's definitely not a competitive channel. And myself, like many other friends that I know and guys from here, when they look for battle reports, they look for competitive battle reports because that's what we look for and what we like. So I think your channel is a huge tool in this sort of background of competitive gaming of Age of Sigmar. So I think you're doing a great service to the community with what you're doing right now.
Happy to hear it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So one important topic that I wanted to touch in this spotlight that we are doing is to better understand what Canada and what Age of Sigmar feels like in Canada. So do you think there's like a specific Canadian meta, and what does playing Age of Sigmar in Canada feels like for somebody that maybe doesn't know about it?
Oh yeah, I guess it doesn't feel like it's that much different than anywhere else necessarily. You know, we do cross over a lot with some of the like kind of northeastern US players and events where we do a lot of events down there. Sometimes they come over here. You know, we'll go down to like, you know, events like Adepticon and Nova and those kind of things. So a good bit of crossover there. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's really that much different than anywhere. Maybe, you know, I would compare it to, I guess, what you see out of the, you know, US meta more, where it's like, you know, a lot of like, in previous years, a lot of like smashing combat and whatnot. And, but, you know, good even range of everything. We're definitely not Australia with their destruction meta over there. But I'd say we have a good mix of both players and kind of army styles and that kind of thing.
Cool. Do you have like specific cities or places where Age of Sigmar is more popular than others?
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. Now, I'm in Toronto, which feels like to me the biggest AoS hub in Canada. Now, I know there's a lot of players on the West Coast in Vancouver, and I know they don't use the ITC ranking system and event system that most of North America uses. So it's kind of hard to, you know, really know what's going on over there, I feel like, and you know how those events are going. But yeah, there's huge scene here in Toronto for us, and I know in Ottawa and Quebec, which are, you know, only a couple hours away, have great communities there as well with lots of events. But definitely, like, Toronto's awesome. I, you know, love being. I'm outside of the city, but I love being close because before the, you know, pandemic and everything, we had like an event nearly every other weekend, you know, of one kind or another. And I'm sure even with how much it's grown in the past 2 years, even, you know, with the pandemic, like, I'm sure as soon as it stops, we're to be having an event almost every weekend. So
Cool.
there'll be lots of opportunity to play games.
Yeah, it sounds like an exciting place to be and to have lots of nice events. And yeah, I was thinking that even comparing this to Italy, it can sound incredibly big, because for me, living in Rome, which is in the center of Italy mostly, I don't know, I have like maybe an max an 8-hour drive to maybe Milan, for example. Well, you guys probably have lots of times the need to take planes, even drive lots of hours, I'm guessing, which can sound incredibly strange to maybe us people living in Europe, or it's most of things are driving distance or maybe train distance or short flights at the most. But yeah, I'm guessing also, I was remembering when I talked to I had the chance to talk to Bill Souza, which you probably know, and we had a cool we did an interview like last year, I think, and he talked to me about the whole rankings differences, even inside the US and the different zones in America. And it's not surprising that you guys have the same problem, because that is an issue in the sense that it's probably harder to compare what happens somewhere else, and to even maybe compare players or metas in generals, because I think maybe rankings are still a big deal in this sort of things.
Yeah, and it's definitely like we were talking about with, you know, Vancouver, where we're on different systems, so it's hard to, like you said, compare one to another, and, you know, look at, you know, different events and be able to understand how they're run and, you know, how that impacts things. And even like you said, being so far apart, like I don't know. I've never, flown over to a Vancouver event. That'd be, real expensive. Obviously, flights within Canada are crazy expensive, especially, from one coast to the other. But we'll drive up to like Ottawa, Montreal for events. So that's more doable, more similar to like, traveling to other countries in Europe.
Yeah.
So and there is even definitely a noticeable difference of meta. Like in our normal, like we have had a couple of GTs in Toronto in previous years, and then went up to Ottawa, and Ottawa has a big mix of not only local players but Toronto players, and then Quebec players, and the Quebec players definitely have a different meta around there. So probably what you guys are used to when you go to a different country or something.
Yeah, well, I didn't have the chance to do it, but even inside of a country like Italy, which is in comparison very small to Canada, we have differences inside the countries in different regions. But yeah, it's funny because you guys are, I'm guessing like as big as Europe or something like that. But we talk about like such small metas in comparison, because we talk about, I don't know, French meta, German meta, Italian meta, and then you guys have like internal meta, but ranging like thousands of kilometers away. So it's logical that it has so many differences, even inside its own country.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, even just within the city, like we have a number of different like competitive AoS teams in and around the area. So it's like, when we all play, with our respective teams and groups and practice together, and then, that's one meta of, what we expect to see and what we're practicing against. And then obviously as soon as you go out to bigger events and you get different groups together, it's like a completely different thing. Like, we'll run our own events with, 12 people, but it's, and we were doing that monthly. It's the same 12 people almost every time, but then as soon as you go somewhere bigger, it's completely different. So that's cool. Part of the fun too, though.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It can be surprising, but at the same time, what makes it interesting, and I'm guessing the big differences as well. So in such a complicated, but not in the sense that it's overcomplicated, but in not an easy country probably to play in. How did the team for what was ETC and what is now AoS Worlds came together, and how did you reach the captain charge?
So Canada as a country, looking at AoS, we were putting our first team together for 2020. Obviously, that's when the pandemic hit and ETC got canceled, so that never panned out. And the team kind of not splintered, but just like everything kind of with the event being canceled, it all kind of just fell to the wayside a little bit. And actually, even before we had things had been canceled, our captain had to back out for family reasons, and so it was kind of a little bit rocky, I would say. Our team's first year, and then obviously getting canceled, and then myself being super motivated and just wanting to not only play competitively, but showcase Canada on an international stage, and that's part of the channel too, right? But wanting to make sure we have a team together with dedicated people that are both skilled and talented players, but really good people who are going to be fun to play with and play against for the teams we face. So obviously had a good group, and so talking with some of the captains, or the captain from the 2020 team, just kind of we basically just kind of picked it up, and he again wasn't going to be able to participate this year, so I kind of just took over in terms of the logistics of obviously just being responsible for everything as the captain. I run my own business and done tons of team-oriented things and been captain on sports teams, so kind of just easy enough for me to do and pick up those responsibilities. So I just kind of took it so that we because no one else kind of was taking responsibility and or was able to and kind of drive the team forward. So I just wanted to be that driving force to start things moving.
Cool. So we can say you are a natural captain.
I don't know if I'd say that, but hopefully others might. But no, honestly, it just comes down to, I don't necessarily ever care about being captain or being in charge, but it's I'm happy to I'm excited to be the one I want to push things forward, and with our team we have a great team that all works together, and we push each other forward, and I've been busy at times, and other people pick up the slack, so it's been great having a team. But it's just you always need someone to get the ball rolling and get things started, and you can create practice schedules and that kind of thing. So as soon as it just having someone getting that started, that's kind of just been my main goal, is to get things started and then operate collectively as a team, not just not one person in charge or anything.
Yeah, well, in a country as big as yours, I can imagine that even already being active and trying to keep the people together is an important task, and not an easy one, I'm sure. So I'm sure you're doing a great job, because how hard the task is probably. And yeah, I think that you mentioned lots of qualities that I would imagine an ideal captain of a team, because yeah, keeping people together, keeping people excited, taking care of the logistics at the same time. There's boring things you get to do, I'm sure, but at the same time they help a lot to achieve the goal, that is taking a long flight that costs lots of money as well for you guys, and having fun in this event that hopefully will happen. Yeah,
no, and especially like you said, in Canada being such a big country, like I really wanted to make it a Team Canada, not just like a Team Ontario and Quebec, which that's again that's the nearby communities for us, being in Toronto. But I tried as much as possible to reach out to other provinces where there's communities and whatnot. So we do have this year we have one player from BC, and again the only reason we're able to practice with them is because of TTS. So if there's one bright thing to come out of the pandemic, it's obviously the international community, but even just being able to play with any players that are far away.
Yeah, so talking about that, you started my next question is, do you guys have a schedule for a preparation? What is the preparation looking like for you in looking forward to the event?
Yeah, so we have kind of a practice schedule of just when playing each other on just kind of a kind of normal weekly or bi-weekly schedule, just to get games in and practice different matchups, kind of looking at the months leading up to the event in a few different phases, whether it's just like first couple months we're just exploring different ideas and options and looking for things that are maybe left field and seeing if they have any opportunities there, and then that mid stage is like, okay, here's what we think is the smartest, or not smartest, but like the most viable, maybe some of the best opportunities, because that's obviously when we're starting to get into like working on finalizing lists for list submission. That's kind of like the mid stage is working on our own lists for the team and kind of what we're going to finalize, and then obviously after list submission, which is a ways out from the event, it turns into just pure, we know what the lists are both for ourselves and our opponents, so it's pure just repetition and getting as much practice as possible. Mm-hmm. And then we're also with TTS and all the worldwide events, we've been doing a couple different like team events. So there's a team event going on right now that we have between our 7-8 players. We have 2 different teams in, and are just testing a whole wide range of different armies and options. So our team right now, like one of them is, we're running KO and OBR Null Myriad and Nurgle rather than again your typical Seraphon and Tzeentch that you're seeing on every other team. But just because we want to see how some of those armies match up in different situations. So it might not have the best impact in this tournament. Really, our goal, even for an event like this, wasn't to win this event. Our goal was to get more practice and experience with different lists and test different things out. Our big goal is the Worlds at in Milan. So that's laser focused on that right now.
Cool. Would that be your first time in Italy?
Yeah, definitely. I've been nearby, been to a couple countries in Europe, but yeah,
Cool.
first time.
Cool. Hopefully this goes on as planned, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
fingers
about what
crossed,
you were
dude.
saying, yeah, I agree a lot because there's lots of choices that are not too obvious. Like we all know about the top meta armies and whatnot, but I think there's lots of not sure if niche is the right word, but like not too obvious choices. Yeah, left field choices, which can be cool, can be interesting, especially in a team event situation, because we all know that team lists can be a lot more polarized, you know, compared to single people events. And yeah, I think that exploring all your possibilities is a good preparation for a final decision. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, trying to, obviously you can't test everything, you can't practice against everything, so it's really just trying to do as much as you can and seeing what fun and weird ideas we can come up with and which ones work great and which ones fail horribly.
Yeah, yeah, there has to be like this process of testing that can have lots of cool results, but at the same time some probably some epic fails that are necessary to reach a final decision for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So are you guys having the chance to play in person as well sometimes?
So yeah, there are like 5 of us that are local to the GTA. So well, again, we're trying to be as diverse as possible. Didn't have necessarily the widest range of applicants for the team this year, obviously with the pandemic going on. So a little concentrated around Toronto, but we do have, again, that does mean we have the opportunity to play and practice somewhat in person. When and where we're allowed with the lockdown and COVID, whatever states we're in. So there's some opportunity to play in person, and obviously, hopefully over the coming months we'll get more and more opportunities and get some more team practices in together and whatnot.
Sweet. That always feels a lot better to just play in person rather than as much as TTS can be helpful, but rolling those dice and just, I mean, you do it on, I don't want to say daily basis, but you get to play for your channel.
Yeah.
And that's such a different feeling. And I almost wanted to say I remember how that feels, but I truly remember how that feels because yeah, we got to play from time to time, but yeah, we all miss it for sure.
Yeah. There's nothing like playing obviously in person. It's so much better. I said it the other day, every time I play TTS, I dislike it more and more. As great of a tool it is, it'll always be a good tool for us as, especially as an internet, or a national team with players thousands of miles apart. It's definitely, a great tool, but it's not the same. It's not real life. I would not choose it if I had an alternative.
Yeah, that's like a backup plan for all of us, probably.
Yeah. But hey, again, better than nothing. It has been great,
definitely.
in terms of bringing together the international community. So some amazing positives from it. But playing in person is definitely my preferred way to roll dice.
Oh, for sure, definitely. Okay, so I think we had a good chat about lots of cool topics. Do you have like any shout outs or any final thoughts that you wanted to share with us?
Off the top of my head, just shout out our team. Everyone's been working hard in terms of practicing and prepping, testing things out. So shout out to everyone on Team Canada. So we're obviously going to be coming. This will be our first international event representing Canada. So looking to make as big of a splash as possible. So we're doing as much prep work as we can.
Cool. Yeah. Right. So as a final reminder, guys, check out Jordan's channel. It will be in the description of the video, obviously. And yeah, I mean, hopefully we will meet each other in person in the next few months if everything goes as planned. And well, thank you so much again for giving us your time, and I hope you had a good time with us and that we had a good chat.
Of course, yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on.
No worries, man. Thank you so much. All right.